This is serious. When you look to your right, you see at first these clouds coming up to the right of the nuclear blast, which appears to be a nuclear blast. Maybe it's taking place in the water. Could this test that actually went live? It could have went off on the boat, kind of had a minor blow up on the right side, but you see that there is a fire before the explosion. So there was probably a pre-explosion before this main one. That to me looks like a nuclear explosion in the water. So this is pretty serious. Some of the water probably shielded some of the personnel, but likely most of those people will get sick and die anyway. This looks like a megaton nuke went off in the water. And this is what happens when countries get into a nuclear arms race that we have with the US and Russia, and we're pretty much provoking each other to build crazier and crazier weapons. The Russians think they're doing self-defense. The Americans think they're doing self-defense. It's a perpetual. 6 people have been affected by severe radiation exposure as a result of a blast. They have been delivered by Moscow by air, are en route to the Federal Medical Biophysical Center of Federal Medical Biological Agency, majoring in radiation and nuclear medicine. It is reported with reference to sources in the Russian Defense Ministry that all the clothes of the injured and doctors as well as the chemical protection suits were burned. It was initially reported that a fire broke out at a military base. Later, Russia's defense ministry specified that an explosion occurred during a test of a liquid propulsion system at a military training ground. The Russian Federation, as a result of the accident, at least 2 specialists were reportedly killed, and another 6 employees of the defense ministry and the developer were injured. An increase in the radiation levels was recorded. The wave from the explosion. To me, it looks everything like a nuclear bomb. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. Nuclear bomb detonating in water. It doesn't look like it was too far in the water as well. Perhaps it was floating on the water almost when it exploded. This drone, I was reading up on it. The Poseidon is a 70-foot underwater drone powered by a nuclear reactor. It's a drone that can cross an entire ocean at depths down to 1,000 meters, making it nearly impossible to intercept. Tipped with megaton-sized thermonuclear warhead, there were 7 pharmacies around this area that was all bought out iodine. People were buying iodine, but iodine is not going to be enough to stop plutonium ending your body. Never is with nuclear. There isn't a cure-all. How many thousands of acres are going to be left to nuclear wasteland that can be used for nothing? And they were using what was called a nuclear propulsion drone called Poseidon. It can carry 2 megatons weapons. It's also a nuclear propelled system. At least 2 people died and several received injuries after the liquid fuel in a missile jet engine exploded during a test at the military testing area of Nonuska on White Sea coast. Regional news site 29 reports that the accident happened at 9 a.m. Thursday. The news site claims that 3 people are dead and that 8 of the 15 are in serious condition. And when they brought those people in, the medical staff on duty was wearing full body suits and gas masks. So they were actually afraid of breathing in. These people they were bringing in were radioactive. So there was definitely a release. According to the Defense Ministry of Information, the cause of the accident was an explosion while testing a liquid propulsion system. The explosion triggered a fire. It is known that the site is used for testing of liquid-fueled engines of ballistic missiles for strategic nuclear-powered submarines. Rumors about a radiation leak were first reported and referred to emergency service saying radiation levels were 3 times higher than normal background. 2 sensors in town for a short period measured increases in background radiation. The increase in radiation began. The levels reported by Nunetsk are 3 times higher than normal. The news agency tells that also the administration of Severodvinsk informed about a slight increase of radiation. It has now returned to normal, he says. It is unclear if the explosion happened on land or on sea. Now, did they actually launch a nuclear warhead? Could a nuclear warhead exploded in the water? I don't know. It's a possibility. But it's also being propulsed by nuclear. Did that engine explode? You have a situation where it's possible that the nuclear engine exploded, and these two warheads are in there, and maybe they didn't explode the warheads themselves, but they blew up. But they didn't explode like a nuclear bomb, but they was like a dirty bomb because there's weapons grade plutonium in those missiles. The only known weapon system with nuclear propulsion under development and testing are the Poseidon underwater drone and the Berdiansk cruise missile. The weapons testing facility on the White Sea, some 25 kilometers west of the Severodvinsk. Casualties after a missile engine explosion. At least 2 people died. Jumped radiation background. Nothing is known about the explosion. Information was received on increasing background radiation. Was it or not? They should check at several points. The governor of the Arjanets region confirmed that an emergency occurred in Ninuksk. So Ninuksk got nuked. Explosion or a fire is now being revealed. So there was probably an explosion and then a fire, or a fire that led to an explosion. The incident occurred in a military unit. Information agency TASS, citing emergency services, reported that the source of the fire was on the ship. As a result of the emergency, 1 person had died. The incident began with the ship that is now on fire. An air ambulance was sent out to the place. There was a fire on one of the ships of the Navy, the Basel Telegram channel writes. According to preliminary information, at least 2 people were killed and 15 injured. All information from the Ministry of Defense is being specified that this is a military facility belonging to the Ministry of Defense. For our part, we are also specifying information. Hospitals and sanitation are mobilized. According to the internet publication Life, after an unidentified emergency, radiation emissions sensors worked. After a short jump, everything returned to normal. So there was a state where things were not normal, and then the wind changed. Launches were to take place in the next 4 days at the ballistic missile range for submarines, and today they were preparing for them, and something went wrong. Probably hurried. Pressed the wrong button. I know that explosions occurred on a barge near a military unit, and according to rumors, the background radiation is increased. It's scary. An emergency meeting of departments is currently taking place in the Arjanets region. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation stated that an explosion occurred during a test of liquid propulsion systems at a military training ground, and the product caught fire. As a result of the incident, 2 specialists were killed. 6 more people, employees of the military defense and a developer company, were injured. It became known of 2 large emergency situations at the facility: a fire in a deep-sea vehicle in the Barents Sea. Calls from journalists from Moscow began in 1248. Obviously, the situation is serious.